throw away everything you think you know about sports betting. Because in 2025, the game has changed. So, I've noticed something funny. Most bettors would rather copy some loudmouth on TikTok than actually learn how to beat the game themselves. They picture sports books as these NASA control rooms, with geniuses running simulations all night to predict who's covering the spread. But that's not how it works. In reality, books don't care about predicting the outcomes perfectly. That's too expensive and too risky. Instead, what they do is set a line that's good enough to attract action on both sides. Then, as bets and money pour in, they move the line to keep things balanced. Because when you think about it, their entire business model is about skimming the middle. They don't need to know who wins. They just need you and probably the guy across the street betting against each other while they sit back and collect 2 to 3% of your bets. That's called the VIG, by the way. And that's how the books get their dough, regardless of who wins. So, don't be surprised to see negative 110 on both sides so often. That said, you might think you're in a lose-lose situation. But honestly, all you need is a good strategy. And no, you don't need to build some Wall Street level prediction system to win. You just need to hunt in markets the books don't pay much attention to. Could be a second division basketball in Europe or low-level MMA fights on a Thursday night. But don't get too absurd because you still need to go to games where the edges live. And the smaller the spotlight, the more mistakes the books make. Those mistakes are where sharp bettors quietly cash out. Now, if you want to learn a thing or two from sharps, I built a private community where you can do just that. Inside, we track bets, share results, and most importantly, keep each other accountable, especially when the urge to chase losses hits. And this isn't all talk either, because one member shared his September results, and let's just say they speak for themselves. So, if you want to connect with 86 plus serious bettors and start betting the smart way, click the link below. Or if you're watching this video on TV, scan the QR code now. Now, if you think the sportsbooks are the only ones that mess up, think again. Because a lot of bettors do too. I remember there was one boxing game that all the fans were excited for. It was the Usyk versus Fury rematch in Saudi Arabia. After their first fight, Fury had lost to Usyk in a split decision. Everyone expected Fury to come back swinging and reclaim his title. The headlines were everywhere. Fury dominates the early rounds. Usyk might finally crack under pressure. And yeah, on paper, it looked like narrative gold for Fury. He had the flashy shots, the crowd was behind him all the way, and all the pundits were predicting the comeback. But here's what actually happened. Usyk didn't back down. He controlled the entire fight from start to finish. Sharp jabs and unbelievable combos all around. So even if Fury had the flashy moments, Usyk's volume, precision, and fight IQ dominated every round. And by the final bell, all three judges scored it 116 to 112 in Usyk's favor. That, my friends, is the problem with narratives. They sound pretty convincing, but they don't actually hold value. And whatever must-win game they're pushing, it's most probably just noise. And the books are in on it too. They're one step ahead because that story you're betting on is already priced in. So here's a pro tip. If you want to make real profit, do the opposite of what the crowd says. But just when you think you figured it out, another hurdle shows up. Because somehow you've convinced yourself more bets equal more chances to win. So you spray 8, 9, maybe even 12 plays a day just to keep your options open. And yeah, sounds like you're covering all your bases, right? But the math will tell you otherwise. Because even if you win, say 55 to 60% of the games, which is pretty rare, in my experience, the edge is slim. You might only break even or worse, lose a lot. And just to put it into perspective, take a look at this example. Let's say you place 10 bets a day at $120 each, all at a standard minus 110 odds. You hit 6 wins and 4 losses, which gives you about $650 in wins and $480 in losses. Your net profit then comes to about $174, and that's already the best case scenario. Now, what happens if it's the other way around? You only hit 4 wins out of 10 bets. That gives you $436 in winnings, $720 in losses, and you're down almost $300. So the takeaway here is high volume only works if you have a real consistent edge. Without it, every extra bet is just extra risk. And professional bettors know this. That's why they always stick to their top 3 to 5 bets a day. Remember, quality always trumps quantity every time. But how do you actually find picks that are profitable bets? Well, this takes us to step 4, and let's think about it like this. Say you're in need of a quick getaway. So, you bust out your laptop, search flights on Google, and you see 2 airlines selling seats to the same destination. One's charging $500 and the other's charging $360. It's the same base round-trip ticket, But which one are you choosing? Obviously the cheaper one, right? You just got more value for the same thing. And that's how sharp bettors treat sportsbooks. Every book is just a different airline ticket with different prices for the same game. And your job is to always grab the best number. The catch is, checking a dozen websites every day is a massive waste of time. That's why I use a tool called OddsJam. It scans across all the books for lines that are off bets, where the payout is bigger than the true probability. And yeah, it's a paid tool. But when you're consistently landing positive EV plays like this one, it basically pays for itself. So, interested in testing out OddsJam for yourself? Check the link in the description. Or, if you're on TV, just scan the QR code right here. But just because the tool says it's positive EV, it doesn't mean that it really is. Remember how I told you earlier that the books wait for people to place their bets before they move a line? Well, that's an important detail you need to remember, because you might feel like you're winning until you actually check the results. I know, it might sound a little confusing at first, so walk with me here. Imagine betting on Team B at minus 125 before the game even begins, but by kickoff the line has moved to negative 115. That means the market didn't agree with your pick. And over time, those small differences can quietly eat away at your profits. On the flip side, if you bet at negative 115 and it closes at negative 135, that's great, because you just beat the market. That's called closing line value, and it's one of the strongest long-term indicators that your edge is real. Now, you won't hit every bet, but tracking this over time is the key to staying profitable in 2025. So do yourself a favor and start noting the line when you place your wager. Then, check it again before the game starts. If you see yourself consistently taking worse numbers than the close, that's a red flag. What you really want is to beat the closing line about 60 to 70% of the time. And if you can beat it more than that, even better. For example, I ran a quick 7-day challenge on OddsJam and ended up beating the closing line 83% of the time. In the end, that little strategy put $587 in my pocket, all from 1 week of smart betting. And trust me, once you beat the closing line enough times, the sports books will start panicking. They'll pull out every trick in the book to stop you, including this one. So I was telling my buddy all about sports betting, and that got him intrigued. He signed up at a new sports book, started winning bets consistently, and in less than 2 weeks, his account got limited. At first, he thought it was a glitch in the system, that maybe all the other bettors got the same notice. But that wasn't the case, and that's when he realized the sportsbooks don't play nice with winners. So when they sense a profitable bettor in their midst, they don't send a gift basket. Instead, they send a limit letter. Meanwhile, BetPappy193 can go 2 to 14 on 6-leg parlays for months and months, and the books are like, keep it coming. That's because losing bets puts money in the bookies' pockets, and they like to keep it that way. So yeah, even though getting limited sucks, it proves that you're doing something right. Now, what do you do if that happens to you? Spread your bets across different sports books. Use a second account with a slightly different name. And throw in the occasional casual bet, like a parlay, a favorite, or whatever, just to make your profile look unsuspicious. Because the goal is to stay under the radar long enough to keep taking money from the syndicate. And if you want to see how I would do it, I made a video detailing how I turned $0 into a $10,000 bankroll. I share everything you need to know to achieve the same thing. So I'll put the video up on screen now if you want to check that out next.